Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teacher. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Friday the 5th of February 2021, and this is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I'm here with you tonight. Hello Margaret, hello Yvonne, hello Anish, and hello everyone. Hello Yvonne, good evening. So good evening everyone. So today is the Friday. Normally if someone is working hard, and then when the Friday comes, everybody will enjoy, thinking that now 2 days off from the work and enjoy. So there's some good news as some of the members of a community of our center have informed me that they've got invitation to get vaccination jabs this coming week, and hoping that there will be no side effects for them, as they are very old. I do have read some other places that some consequences of vaccination, and again I understand that it won't be similar to everyone, as our physicality is different, our immune system is different to one another. Further on, again, our karma is also different too. Oh, what a good news, Margaret, well done. So glad to hear that you also got it. So our physicality is different, our immune system is different, and more importantly, our karma, or the actions, is different. And based on our merits and action, again, it does affect to our life too. So that's why it's a time to test, and whenever you have an opportunity, or whenever the government is inviting you to get the jab on, just go and get it. At least there is a safety. So this is a vaccination, and I hope I can get as soon as possible too. So right, I hope. And then today we, this is a quarterly full moon, quarterly Buddhist day. So that's why I invited Ajahn Peter and Tankal to give a talk this afternoon, and quite a few people joined in and listened the talk. So now this is my turn today. As usual, I will be reading and will be explaining on the basis of this discourse. And yesterday, unfortunately, I was not able to complete the whole discourse. I was able to only finish halfway through. So this discourse is the Bhikkhunis quarter, and this is about the Bhikkhunis, or the female ordained members who, after practicing in accordance with the four establishment of mindfulness, attained higher levels of understand, have a higher level of the mental state. And then with this, they invited Venerable Ananda for the consultation, and Venerable Ananda confirms what they have achieved is so. It is fruitful And it is obvious that whoever practices in accordance with the four establishment of a mindfulness, and definitely they will attain such a higher attainment. And later he went on to speak with the Buddha, asking whether his reply was correct or not. And in that, Buddha confirms that his understanding was correct, and his interpretation was correct. Further on, then the Buddha went on saying that sometimes when we are practicing meditation, due to the bodily physical changes and also mental sluggishness, we may not able to practice meditation, and in that case we have to channel or direct our attention to something which is inspiring signs, so that we can continue practicing and gain more knowledge. And then after you have fully paid attention to that object and understood that object, and you have to withdraw yourself from that object and back to the primary object or the bodily contemplation. So that was the first part of this discourse. And the second part of the discourse further on, saying that it is not just the practicing of a bodily contemplation, that sometimes you will have this heat or a fever in your body and sluggishness in your mind, but also sometimes when you are paying attention to the feelings, it's called Vedana, the feelings or sensations, at that time also there is a possibility of arising of different sensations, such as the heat or the fever or the sluggishness of the mind. In that case again also we have to think of something which is inspiring, so that it motivates us to continue practice. Without having it, it would be very difficult for us to continue practicing. It will simply makes us feel that this meditation is not my way, or this meditation is not helping me, something like that. So it is quite obvious, due to conditioning of our mind. It does happen like that. Further on, not only the feelings, even when you are meditating and you're watching your mental state, at that time also there is a possibility of this sluggishness in mind, a sluggishness of mind, and a bodily fever may arise. In that case, you have to direct your attention to the inspiring signs. So that is the first part. And then once we have directed into the directed into the inspiring signs, and that moment, and then you able to withdraw yourself from that object and back to the primary object. At that time, what will happen is that there will be, without a thought and examination, internally and mindful. So internally you become a mindful. So there won't be any thought about the object. There won't be any thought about the conversation or sluggishness of your mind, or physically a different sensation that you're experiencing. You're not thinking and examining about that. So this stage actually is about the second jhanas. And now you may have known that in the practice of samatha meditation, there are 4 types of jhanas that one can attain, and that starts from this thoughts and examination. So it's called vitaka vichara piti sukha ekagata. Vitaka vichara is thoughts and examination, and a joy, happiness, and then equanimous mind. And here is talking about the second stage of it. When you have a second stage, when you attain the second stage, at that time what happens is that you don't have to think of the object, you don't have to think or worry about your primary object, and also you won't be examining on that. You simply fully absorb, then you have attained that calmness of the mind. But obviously, if when we are practicing as a beginners, it is obvious that we always have to think of the object and examining that whether am I having this object clearly or not, am I adapting this object clearly or not. These kind of thoughts will continue in us, and as a result, sometimes we will have sluggish mind, other time it's so motivated to practice. And sometimes whenever we have difficulties at that time, we think of this meditation, other times it's just off the line. So like that. But once you have attained this second stages of the jhanas, then that moment you won't be thinking about the object. You won't be examining about the object. You have a clear vision of it and the right understanding of it. So there won't be any examination at all. So that's the way of directing your attention from, if you have this bodily temperature and mentally sluggishness, then you're simply directing to something which is inspiring. And there is another way. So it is called. So Buddha said that it is in such a way, Ananda, that there is a development by directing, direction. So we are directing our attention to something else, and with that we are gaining more development in our practice. And further, this is the second part. Buddha says, and how, Ananda, is there development without direction? So first it was by directing our attention to something, and here without direction. Not directing his mind outwardly, so you don't have to think of anything outside of your own self. A bhikkhu understand, my mind is not directed outwardly, then he understand it is unconstricted after and before, liberated, undirected. Then he further understands, I dwell contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, I am happy. So in this moment, basically what happens is that your mind is fully absorbed within, inwardly, not outwardly. Outwardly always brings the distractions, and whereas here inwardly, basically it means your mind is fully absorbed on the object, and you don't need to examine it at all. And with this, you understand that your mind is not directed outward. So your mind is not directed to outward and thinking about any other objects. And also we understand that the mind now is liberated, and without directing to anywhere else. So best of luck, Emma. I hope you will get soon too. So that's why this is without directing to the outside world, and we are getting our mind is concentrated and gain the full concentration and liberation. So and also we'll understand that your mind is liberated and undirected by the time when you are observing the body in the body. And with this, further it says, I dwell contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, I am happy. So you are having this happiness born out of your mind is concentrated. Further, not directing his mind outwardly, a bhikkhu understands my mind is not directed outward, then he understands it is unconstricted after and before, liberated, undirected. Then he further understands I dwell contemplating, feeling in the feeling, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, I am happy. Not directing his mind outwardly, a bhikkhu understands my mind is not directed outwardly, then he understands it is unconstricted after and before, liberated, undirected. Then he further understands I dwell contemplating, mind in the mind, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, I am happy. Not directing his mind outwardly, a bhikkhu understands my mind is not directed outwardly. Then he understands it is unconstricted after and before, liberated, undirected. Then he further understands I dwell contemplating phenomena in phenomena, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, I am happy. It is the way, Ananda, that there is development without directions. Thus, Ananda, I have thought development by direction and I have thought development without direction. Whatever should be done, Ananda, by a compassionate teacher out of compassion for his disciples, desiring their welfare, that I have done for you. These are the feet of trees, Ananda. There is empty huts. Meditate, Ananda. Do not be negligent, lest you regret it later. This is our instruction to you. This is what the Blessed One said, elated the Venerable Ananda, delighted in the Blessed One's statement. So this is how one should be practicing. Sometimes when our mind is distracted at that time, we have to encourage ourselves to meditate by thinking of something inspiring, thoughts or signs. And as you have attained the level of a concentration, and you don't need to think about the object and also don't need to examine on it, so with this your mind has attained the second jhanas, and with that second jhanas further on, you're contemplating on the body as a body in the body, contemplating in the body, contemplating feeling in the feeling, contemplating mind in the mind, and phenomena in the phenomena. So with this, we don't need to direct if our mind is not distracted. And which is obviously these days I've been teaching morning as well, 6 o'clock. And I notice myself that I need to be very mindful, because I'm doing in both languages, English and Thai. And some normal days I normally just speak as it comes in my mind, as I feel right, and so I just speak in that way whenever I am leading. But now I have to remember that what I have said previously, like a few moments early on, and with that, so I would be able to translate it. Otherwise, I won't be able to translate. So I need to be very mindful what I was saying nowadays. Okay? So with this, I always direct my attention to the thoughts that I am going to speak and I have spoken. So with that direction, with a directed mind, I normally was able to remember what I have said, and meanwhile able to translate it into English as closely as possible. Although there will be missings and there will be something that is not in accordance, not as I have said in Thai or even in English. So, but I try my best to keep as close as possible in both languages, So that is again helping me to understand that the moment when you are distracted, you will forget everything, and which I have experienced a lot. So that's why sometimes you may have noticed in my talks that I'm talking about one subject, and somehow later on I have changed to something else, and that is simply because I do not remember, and I'm just talking as it comes. As it comes, and that's our consciousness that's why it's not permanent. It's always rising and vanishing, arising and vanishing. So our consciousness is impermanent, and it arises and vanishes away. And with this, if you become mindful of what you are saying and what you are doing, and being able to direct your attention to the subject matter, then you won't be forgetting. And then meanwhile, once you are in that state, unforgetful, what you have been doing, what you have said, then obviously you will be experiencing a joy and a happiness out of born out of the knowledge that you already have, and which is the memory, and which is the mindfulness that you are already mindful of. So this sutta, this discourse, is basically Buddha is talking, instructing us to apply the practice of a meditation in our day-to-day life, that sometimes due to the conditions we are not able to concentrate, and other times we are able to concentrate. In those cases, sometimes we have to direct our attention deliberately to something else, or and sometimes if our mind is already established in that moment, again we don't need to direct, but we need to know what is happening, what is going on. So this is the teachings of the Buddha, and after that, Buddha further on saying that these are the feet of trees. So that is, it's called a rukkamula. Go and meditate under the tree. And then these are empty huts. It's called sunyagara. These are empty huts. So go and meditate in those empty huts. And meditate, and do not be negligent. And this do not be negligent is called appamada, which is very core teachings. In a way, it's a core teachings of the Buddha, that do not live negligently. Live with mindfully. And one who lives his life or her life with a mindfulness, he is going to be in a state called deathless. And then further on it says, at least you regret it later. This is our instruction to you. So Buddha is confirming that this is his instruction for someone to practice, someone to follow. And whoever practices this path obviously will be able to develop themselves into the higher spiritual level and attaining the higher consciousness, and further on you will be able to liberate yourself. So that's why the practice of satipatthana is so important, that it always supports and always guard us, and always helping us to grow in this path to attain the liberation. So this sutta, the Bhikkhuni's Quarter, is a number 10th sutta. That means it ends the one section of this book, and now on there will be another section or another collection starts, and which will be again short but concise, and meanwhile we'll be talking about more on satipatthana, and how to practice satipatthana, and what is the importance of the satipatthana, the establishment of for establishment of a mindfulness, why it is so important, and why we should be practicing in that way. So rest of other discourses will be following in a similar way, but in a different angle, so that the practice of a meditation is essential for us to be happy in here in this life, and as well as happy hereafter, until the attainment of liberation. So thank you everyone for listening today, and may you all be well and happy. May you all be protected by the Triple Gem, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and may you all have got the invitation letter to get the vaccination as soon as possible. With this, may you all be well and happy. And in a few moments' time, we're going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You're most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night, and see you shortly. Thank you.